Good morning. Today we're going to start the first of two lessons about absolute values. We're going to look today at equations. Tomorrow we'll look at inequalities. But I wanted to split this up into two lessons so that we could make sure that we have a really good understanding of how absolute values work in equations and inequalities. But first let's review what an absolute value is. The absolute value of a number is its distance from zero. So if we think about the distance from zero, I'm thinking about a number line. And if I'm asked to find the absolute value of -6, what that means is how far away is -6 from 0? And I would put my point here and I would say it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 away. So remember that absolute value, because it's talking about distance, absolute value is always a positive number. I wouldn't say how far is it from here to Granada and have you say, oh, it's about -20 something kilometers. You know, you would say it's 20 something kilometers. So absolute value is always positive because distance is always measured positive. So even when we are asked to find the absolute value of a positive number, it's still measuring distance, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's still a positive number. So remembering that this number inside the absolute value here is completely different from this, right? -6 and 6 are two different numbers. But they gave us the same answer. So two numbers inside gave us the same answer. So we're going to remember that as we go on with equations. Oops, I had a number line. All right. So when solving an absolute value equation, it is important to remember that there are two possible solutions. So if I solve this, if I just ignore the absolute value bars, I can say, oh, I just have to subtract 9, I get 3x equals 9, divide both sides by 3, and I get x equals 3. And that is a true statement. If I plug in 3, let me check my work, I would get 3 times 3 plus 9. Well, 3 times 3 is 9 plus 9. And the absolute value of 18 is equal to 18. But remember, I can also have a -18 in the absolute value bars, because the absolute value of 18 is equal to 18, which we saw here, but we could also have the absolute value of -18, which is equal to 18. So I'm going to keep dropping my absolute value bars, but this time I'm going to set this equal to -18, because my goal is to say, let me make this equal the positive 18 and make it equal to the -18. So I'm going to have -9, 3x equals -27. Divide both sides by 3. And we get x equals -9. So let me check this. I've got the absolute value of 3 times -9 plus 9. This would give me -27 plus 9, which is -18. And -18 is equal, the absolute value of -18 is equal to positive 18. So I actually end up with two solutions that make this true. X equals 3 and x equals -9. All right, so let's solve this one. The first thing that we always need to do is to get the absolute value bars by itself. So I'm going to kind of make it, I'm just drawing over that to remind myself, this is what I'm trying to isolate. I'm trying to isolate these and get it by itself. So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract 7. I'm going to treat it just like a two-step equation. 2 absolute value, 5x minus 3, and that would give me 14. And then divide both sides by 2, and we get the absolute value of 5x minus 3 equals 7. Once I get to this point, when the absolute value bars are isolated, I'm going to drop the bars and I'm going to write it twice. So the first time I write it, I'm going to just write it as is. 5x minus 3 equals 7. But the second time that I write it, I'm going to write it 5x minus 3 equals negative 7. And I leave what was inside the absolute value bars alone. I just change what comes at the end. So let me start on the positive one. Add 3, cancel, and 5x equals 10. Divide both sides by 5, and we get x equals 2. So there's one answer. And if I solve the other one, add 3 to both sides, 5x equals negative 4, divide by 5, leave your answer as a fraction, x equals negative 4/5. Let me do a quick little check here for both of these because it's really good to check our work. If I plug in 2, I get this. So I'm going to have 10 minus 3 is 7, so I've got 2 times 7 plus 7 equals 21. This would give me 14. 14 plus 7 is 21, and that is a true statement. Over here, I'd have 2 times 5 times negative 4/5 minus 3 plus 7. And so 5 times negative 4/5, the 5s would cancel out, and I would just get negative 4. So I'd have 2 times the absolute value of negative 7 plus 7. Well, this would give me a positive 14 plus 7 equals 21, and that is a true statement. So both of these are valid answers. I do want you to get in the habit of checking your work or checking your answers because it's going to be very important just to make sure that you didn't make a mistake and to make sure that it actually works. Solve the absolute value equation, excuse me. So I'm going to start by dividing both sides by negative 2. Absolute value of 7x equals negative 7. But we have a problem. You know what the problem is? The absolute value of 7x is equal to a negative 7. However, absolute value always has to be what kind of number? Positive number. So if your absolute value is isolated and your absolute value equals a negative number, no solution. Because what this is saying is how far away from 0, or basically what value of x can I plug in to have a distance of negative 7, but we can't have a negative distance. So we put no solution. Now you might be saying, but we put negatives on the other problems, but what we did on the previous problems was to say, when I set this equal to negative 7, I'm trying to figure out how to make this inside equal to negative 7. I'm not trying to make the answer over here negative 7. I'm not making the distance be negative 7. There is a difference. And if you want to talk about that more, you can jump in on one of the Zooms, or you can send me an email. All right, so solve the absolute value equation. This one looks a little weird because we have the negative 4x plus 5 over here. But I'm still going to write it twice. My absolute value is isolated. And I'm going to get 6x plus 3 equal to negative 4x plus 5. Let me just solve that like normal. Add 4x to both sides. 10x plus 3 equals 5. Subtract 3. 10x equals 2. Divide by 10. Be very careful. Don't divide by 2 and say x equals 5. X actually equals 1/5. But I have to write it a second time. And this time, I'm going to change the sign of everything over here. So what was in the absolute value bars is going to stay the same, but everything on the other side is going to change. So now it's going to be 4x and minus 5. I'm going to subtract 4x. So I get 2x plus 3 equals negative 5. Subtract 3. divide by 2, and x equals -4. And I can do a real quick check. If I do x equals 1/5, plug that in, I'd get 6 times 1/5 plus 3 equals -4 times 1/5 plus 5. If you want to use your calculator, you can, but I would get 6/5 plus 3 equals -4/5 plus 5. So this would give me, let's see, I think of this as 15 over 5. So 6 plus 15 would give me 21 over 5. And that would be the same as having 25 over 5. So 25 minus 4 would give me 21 over 5. So that means that I did this correctly. And then let me check with the -4. When I go to plug that in, I get 6 times -4 plus 3 equals -4 times -4 plus 5. So I'd have -24 plus 3 is -21. This would give me -16 plus 5. And so that would give me -16 plus 5, which would give me -11. And here we see proof of why it is so important to check your work. This answer did not work. And so that means that x equals -4 is what we call an extraneous solution. I don't know if you can hear the rain. I'm trying to talk over it. And that means that x equals 1/5 is our only answer. So here's your homework for today. Make sure to show all of your work, show all the steps of what you're doing to solve, show that you checked your answer, because you will have some problems like this one here, where one answer is going to not be a valid answer. If you put x equals -4 as a solution, that would be incorrect. You do need to label that as extraneous and show that only x equals 1/5 is a solution. So to do your homework, make sure you check with Bob, check with the back of the book on those odd numbered problems and see how you're doing. And if you have any questions, please let me know.